With 8 of 9 legs completed, the Volvo Ocean Race is building to a mighty crescendo. Groupama holds a convincing lead over second-placed Puma Ocean Racing, with Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand and Telefonica equal in third. But as witnessed on leg 8 from Lisbon to Lorient, anything could happen in the Volvo Ocean Race. The final leg of the race is approximately 500 nautical miles from Lorient, along the shores of western Brittany, across the English Channel and up the coast of Ireland into Galway. Short, but by no means sweet, the fleet will have to negotiate headlands, tidal gates, fickle weather and commercial shipping before its triumphant arrival in the Irish port. The winner of the Bretagne In-Port Race would claim 6 points, vital at this late stage in proceedings. Conditions off the coast of the sailing-mad town of Lorient were perfect for the Bretagne In-Port Race as the fleet assembled for its penultimate inshore battle. Race leaders Groupama were looking to capitalise on their local knowledge and opted for the committee boat end as the fleet crossed the start line. But it was Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand with a slight advantage early on.
Camper a little bit bound forward as they wind up over the line. It's Camper who get over the line first.
The split developed on the first leg with Puma, Camper and Telefonica on the left side of the course and Abu Dhabi, Sanya and Groupama to the right. When the fleet converged, Camper had managed to maintain their advantage, rounding Mark 1 ahead of Groupama with Puma in third. As the fleet headed downwind, Camper was forced to jibe by the unwelcome presence of both Groupama and Puma. The Americans and French were absorbed in their own personal battle, allowing Camper to extend their lead by the second mark. Puma rolled around the bow of Groupama, but a scruffy drop on the American boat took its toll. They're towing a bit of water in there. This is a slow manoeuvre from Puma. Puma failed to sheet in its Genoa, and the overall race leaders sailed through to leeward.
Kenny Reid fights with the helm. The Genoa is not sheeted on. This will open up another opportunity for Groupama to sail through to leeward of Kenny Reid.
Just behind that particular duel, it looked as though Telefonica had made up significant ground, but Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing forced them back into fifth at the mark. There were no positional changes during the short reaching legs to Mark 3 and 4, although Sanya ran into trouble losing a sheet during one of their tacks, relinquishing even more ground to the fleet. Heading homewards with the race seemingly taken care of, disaster struck for Camper. A misjudgment on board meant they chose a poor ley line. Groupama nailed the mark and rolled over the top of the Spanish-Kiwi team.
We've got a lead change. Camper have been rolled here by Groupama. So the race winner takes the lead in the Lorient In-Port Race.
Behind the leading trio, Telefonica had squeezed past Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing in the final exchanges. With a veritable armada of spectator boats following them, race leaders Groupama crossed the finish line to claim 6 points. The French team faultless and quick to capitalise on the smallest of errors from their competitors. Camper took second place with closest rivals Puma in third. Telefonica's poor short course form continued with a lowly fourth place, followed by Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing and Team Sanya. On the leaderboard, that means that Groupama extends their lead to 25 points over Puma. Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand closes the gap on the Americans by 1 point to 4, whilst Telefonica slips to fourth place overall. This edition of the Volvo Ocean Race has proved to be the closest in history, and changes were afoot amongst the race organisers in the hope of continuing that trend. 2 days before the Bretagne In-Port Race, the sailing world was abuzz with the news of exciting new changes to the race. A new one-design concept was unveiled by race CEO Knut Frostad, which will significantly reduce the cost of mounting a campaign and increase the size of the fleet. The new boat is a 65-foot monohull racing yacht that will be used for the next 2 editions of the race. Additionally, a minimum of 8 boats will be built to contest the next 2 races.
And we wanted to capture cost, and that has been an important target for us. So the boat is slightly smaller, it's 5 feet shorter, but it has speed capabilities very, very close to the current fleet. More than everything, it will open up the race more to who can actually be competitive in the race. And it's creating a much wider opening for new teams, whether it be female teams, for less experienced sailors, to know that they can be on the start line with the same tools as the most experienced ones.
The reaction of the current skippers to the news was mixed, but there is clearly plenty of excitement about the next evolutionary step for the Volvo Ocean Race.
You know, I've always been pro One Design. I grew up sailing One Designs for 70 stars, and it's so for me, you know, I'm just a little bit upset it didn't happen 2 races ago, because then we could have been sailing around in the same boats for the last 2 races.
But I think everyone knows that I don't like much, not this idea. I hope I am wrong, and this is going to be super good. So we'll see. It's now a question of Volvo. They have a hard job, very hard job. I know they're doing this because they think it's the best. So I just hope it's gonna happen and it's gonna be good, no? So we'll see. They have a lot of work now. I just hope they're gonna do a good job, and it's gonna be a lot of votes on the next race.
The excitement and tension were palpable in the race village as the fleet made ready for their final departure day. The leg to Galway represents the final opportunity for the fleet to gain offshore points and, for Puma, Camper and Telefonica, the last chance to make any significant inroads on Groupama's lead. Fans, friends and families gathered on the dock for the final farewell of the race as the fleet left Lorient to complete a short sprint around the in-port course before heading out into the Celtic Sea.
So down at the pin end, we've got Groupama in a beautiful position. Camper, Telefonica, to windward of her with the black image was Puma. So the way that's stacking up, Martin, it's so important with these reaching starts to get your time on distance. We're hearing there's a penalty. There's a penalty, a flag flying, I understand, off the back of Camper. We'll have a bit of a look. We're just looking here for a flag. So my understanding there's a flag. So coming up to 9 seconds to go, 8. It's all time on distance. We can see the speed building. Telefonica quite early, all the boats even. It's a clean start as the leg start from Lorient. We understand the penalty, Martin, against Camper.
Well, we'll wait and see how that develops, and there's a penalty turn here that is being undergone by Camper. Well, that couldn't have been a more disastrous way to begin this leg 9.
I'd say that's tacking too close there by Camper, and Camper coming from port to starboard are required to keep clear. So the flag would have come from Telefonica that Camper failed to keep clear as the port hand boat. And penalty against Camper, and in really in an offshore race, that's a big penalty to cop.
There were no positional changes as the fleet rounded Mark 1. Telefonica remained in the lead ahead of Puma and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Overall race leaders Groupama were behind Sanya in 5th, clearly content to sit back for the moment at least. Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand brought up the rear thanks to their pre-start penalty. That's the horrible view from Camper. Not a pretty sight at all to see the rest of the fleet that far in front of you at the start of a race that you'd really love to have won, given that they haven't managed to snare one of the leg wins on this Volvo Ocean Race so far. So Telefonica leads, and they're heading out into conditions that we know are going to really suit probably Telefonica and certainly Groupama, fast reaching conditions.
So we're heading here into Mark 2. They'll come round Mark 2 and then actually go hard on the wind out to Mark 3. We've done the start. There's been 2 legs of 2 sail reaching, but we'll see Telefonica come round and then harden up hard on the wind. Immediately behind Telefonica, we've got Puma and then Abu Dhabi, and Camper trails after having to do that penalty turn as Telefonica comes around the mark, and immediately the sails are sheeted on harder as they'll now head up towards Mark 3. It's a 1.2 nautical mile windward beat. This whole inshore component is 6.5 nautical miles. So really, it's really just a quick sprint round the bay, Martin, before they head off to that famous Fastnet Rock on the southern edge of Ireland. Famous or infamous, take your pick. Certainly legendary without a shadow of a doubt. As the fleet passed Mark 2, a split developed for the first time as Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing and overall leaders Groupama headed slightly offshore. So we've got a bit of a split in the field. We saw this yesterday with that group of 4 boats led by Telefonica, Camper trailing. But then you've got a split of 2 boats heading out to sea. And I think the reason they tacked away, Martin, is they're probably squeezed away. They were in turbulent wind with Group Armour and Abu Dhabi. They were really forced to tack away. You can see the top markets right into the wind, and certainly in terms of local knowledge, from the little bit I can glean and looking at Frank Camas yesterday, it seems to be quite nice to go along the shore, and there's a little bit of a geographic bend that seems to happen when the boats tack and come across on starboard towards the mark. Heading up towards Mark 3, they're on the wind. We can see Telefonica down to leeward, and then Puma now to windward. Just eyeballing that now, I can see out there, you know, in the far left, we can see the boats that went left, and for me, Telefonica is clearly ahead of that group on the left-hand side.
It looks like that from where I am.
So we're at Mark 3. Telefonica just still leads as they come round. There's a bearaway set, and we'll look for that big masthead. Not sure what it is. It might be a code 0 will be unfurled.
It's looking to me like that's been a bit of a punishment for Group Armour to have gone out the other side. What would you say, Pete?
Well, I think they were forced to tack away, and it's just about minimising their loss, really. Yeah, see, Camper have been the winner here. They were back, they were deep, they were last, but Camper have got round Sanya, and they've also actually got round Group Armour.
During the 2-week stopover in Lorient, the sailors were keen to make the most of their time off before embarking on the final leg to Galway. One of the preferred ways for teams to relax, unwind and keep fit is to indulge in a spot of cycling. Group Armour sailors Frank Camas and Brad Marsh are two of the Volvo Ocean Race's cycling club's keenest members.
It's such a nice way to, when you finish work and you finish a day, just to jump on your bike for an hour, put your iPod on and just go for a nice ride, do something for yourself and clear your head before you come home, sort of. Today we're just going to do our usual sort of typical morning route. It's about 35 or 40 kilometres out along the beach, along the coastline, and then back inland through the farms and stuff. It's something that we all sort of got together before the start of the race, all the cyclists that we knew between all the teams, and arranged to have the bikes in the same set of containers. The momentum didn't really start until Miami, but since Miami we've been doing quite a bit. I think it'll be competitive today since the cameras are there and everyone wants to show who's best, but I'll say that I'm sick, so I'll be down the back and probably enjoying the same view as you guys watching who's out the front. But I put money on Frank today.
And that would be money well spent. Frank Camas is a bit more than a Sunday cyclist. He competed in the gruelling Étape de Tour, finishing an impressive 40th out of more than 10,000 competitors.
It's a sport that's good for sailors. You have to keep fit, as it's an endurance sport, and it allows you to de-stress as well. We had a team of 12 people last year. Étape de Tour is a mountain stage that they do in the Tour de France. We trained very hard for that. It gave us a challenge and it went well. There were 10,000 people and we were all in the first 500 finishers, so it gave us a lot of pleasure. It was a big moment and an important goal, as we are not cyclists, but we trained hard for it.
Il a fallu s'entraîner beaucoup pour arriver pas trop fatigué.
All looked promising as the group headed out of Lorient at top speed. But it wasn't long before it began to rain, and rain, and rain. Treacherous conditions on a road bike.
Had to abandon due to inclement weather, unfortunately. 40 knots on the Bay of Biscay is okay, but pouring rain in the Brittany coast isn't quite so good when you're on your bike.
The fair weather cyclists may have decided to abandon their jaunt, but Frank chose to press on. But as the rain continued to cascade down, even he was forced to abandon the ride with a broken chain. A postponement flag then for the hardy Volvo Ocean Race Cycling Club. They'll be back on the road in Galway. But out on the water, the weather gods were smiling on the fleet as the boats headed towards Mark 4. However, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing was struggling with a headsail issue.
Is it Al-Khalid there just hopping in to grab the sheet? Boy, he'll have a bit on to pull that on board. It's heavy, there's water. You run the risk of, yeah, he can't hold it. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised Ian Walker has just let that sit in that position. It's normal to drop the sail a little bit to free the head so the Jenica fills a little better. But to trawl it...
looks like they're taking advantage of that because they seem to be climbing on top of well,
Camper have actually, if you look in there, what they've got on, they've got a Jenica, and inside they've still got their Genoa, and it just look and the same with Telefonica. We can see the basically they've got two sails hoisted as Telefonica looks beautiful conditions,
clean,
beautiful colours.
Yeah.
So Telefonica from Puma also now furling as they come in around the yellow Volvo Ocean Race marker. They're going to now head down to Mark 4, so that'll be leg 5. And we'll just look at the gee, it's a big split.
Look at the big. I'm just going to say, huge split already in such a short time with from that chasing pack as we watch Ken Reid bring Puma Mamostro around the mark, walking from one sailing helming platform to another. Over he goes. Great race going on here in the other 2/3 of the fleet. As Justin Slattery races back to sort out his lines. Ian Walker. This is Camper coming round, and just they do slow up, don't they? And bit of a problem at the top. The battens.
Well, they've got a batten in there, Martin, and it just takes. That batten's obviously got, or the sail has to turn inside out on the jibe, and sometimes they get a bit hung up, as we see Robert Salthouse trimming as Sanya comes in, and then Groupama. There's a bit of an issue here. Wow, that is amazing shots from on board Telefonica. We can see just going up to the forestay, there's an issue there. I'm just trying to pick up what's going on. It looks like, now what happens is the jib is attached to the forestay with a hank, which is really like a little clip with a piston in it, a ring. And I think a sheet or something has got caught. Yeah, it's cleared. That rope, which was lying along next to the forestay hank, I think it had actually got inside the clip. Martin, you can see as Telefonica comes round the mark, now so that's Mark 4, and we're now ahead on leg 6, back to Mark 2, which is in the start area. But what it was where the sheet of the code 0 was lying over the top of the hank that attaches to the forestay, and if that little piston hank opens up, it really cleats that sheet off, which really stops the option of being able to tack at the mark, of course, and that's what the boats have had to do. As we look at Puma coming round, they come round the mark, as Kenny Reid brings the boat now onto it's really a fetch, as we'd call it now, over towards Mark 2.
France is synonymous with haute cuisine, and Lorient is no exception. One of the town's best-known restaurants is Le Jardin Gourmand. Opened 22 years ago by chef Nathalie Beauvais and her husband Arnaud, they pride themselves on creating classic Brittany dishes using local produce. 3 of the Volvo Ocean Race sailors were lucky enough to be invited into the couple's home for a cooking masterclass.
So monkfish, you know, it's a fish with a very big head.
Yeah, ugly bugger.
We have artichoke, and you have sage. So very fine with the artichoke, is a very good association. Mustn't cut, it's important.
You might need some help from the boys there.
It's an organic artichoke, very strong.
Yeah.
Still about the power to the handle.
Oh, yes. So the strings out.
I really enjoy cooking, but I must say I'm probably more of a consumer than a preparer. I find when I prepare food that I'm bloated by the time the food is ready. My signature dish is
cheese on toast.
Caesar salad. Caesar salad. Simple, isn't it?
Uh-oh, nice again. Down each side, huh?
My cooking skills are immense. When I am at home, I do actually get to cook occasionally. I quite enjoy it.
believe it or not. It's quite fun to be here and allowed to do this instead of eating Shefty's freeze-dried food. Huh?
Quite happy to do something else other than boiling water.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have to use a knife very often on the boat. Actually, I use a knife to open the freeze-dried packets. That's about it.
In Brittany, we love
butter.
salt butter, yes.
Yeah.
So important to give the taste and the moelleux.
I enjoy cooking actually a lot. When I'm at home I get to cook a fair bit, so actually I cook most of the meals when I'm home. Obviously I'm not home very much, so it's a bit of a rare occasion. So this is a bit of a special treat. I can pick up some tricks for the girls when I'm home. Pretty good. And I've tried Shefty's cooking, so I'll give Knocker a chance, but he'll probably eat everything before he gets in the pot, so we'll see how we roll.
Time for our sailors to enjoy the fruits of their labour.
I have to say, of all the places we've been, mate, this country has got food covered.
With monkfish mastered, it was time for dessert and an intricate challenge for the weather-beaten hands of these intrepid sailors.
First time we have sailors in our kitchen.
It's very brave of you. Yeah, very brave. Yeah, thank you very much for having us in your home. This is wonderful. I'm going to cook this for my wife for dinner. Or try. Cheers. Cheers.
As the fleet headed towards the final part of the inshore course, positions had changed once again. Well, Camper got through.
Another position change there, with Camper getting over the top of Abu Dhabi.
Okay, now on the back of Abu Dhabi, I believe we're going to go and meet up with the CEO of the Volvo Ocean Race. This is Knut Frostad, and Knut, about to do the big jump. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm just about to tack first, then we're going to jump. So, but fantastic conditions out there. Great out on the front, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the cold water.
I'm sure you are. Well, you'll be well used to it, the part of the world that you come from. But tell me, have you done this before?
I've done this before. I actually have never ever jumped from a boat. Most of my life I've tried to stay on board them. This is a new experience.
This is it. Is Knut getting ready to go? He's got his life jacket on. He's about to leap. Oh! Well, I think that was slightly agricultural, but he's there. The life jacket's exploded, and that water's not too warm, but they'll be picking him up shortly. So the last man to leap from a Volvo 70, we think. There are other jumpers around, but he'll be getting picked up as Groupama. Well, he'd want to get out of the water before Groupama comes thumping across him.
Now I think it gets quite interesting, because we've done the inshore race. Now the boats will settle in. They will get the sail inventory set up for the offshore component. We can see already the code zeros have been deployed. So we're back to a masthead reaching sail as Camper looks pretty superb there. But way out in the lead, we've got Telefonica looking also on a code zero. They're actually going to get quite a lot of wind tonight. Forecast 25-30 knots from the west-northwest, and that will suit especially this boat Telefonica, and the boat that we know is probably the fastest in the pack in that condition. Two sail reaching will be Groupama. The mover, really, the other mover's been Camper. I see Camper's right up alongside, or coming alongside Puma. So Camper, who returned to the start, it's a pretty good comeback if they've are now putting. They're not leading Puma, but Camper obviously enjoying this wind angle with the code zero on.
Pete, it's been a 9-month marathon, and we know that Groupama have that nice cushion. But the battle for second and third, the podium spots, we couldn't have come down to anything closer.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. And these two boats with Camper and Puma, who's going to get onto the podium?
So a resurgent Telefonica leads the fleet towards its Irish rendezvous just 500 nautical miles away, where the winner of the Volvo Ocean Race 2011-2012 will be decided. But just who will lift the trophy in Galway in a little under a week's time? Join us next time to find out. We'll see you then.